Hey, Les.
Hey, Ange.
Welcome to a new episode of Black
Black
Boomer
Boomer Besties
Besties
from
from
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Whoop, whoop. We have an all of our guests are going to be amazing, okay? Period. But this one right here,
This one here.
you will see why she's here. The, um, the mastery that she has over calm, over being connected to her audience because she is a speaker. Let me just start with this is Rolonda Goodwin.
Hi,
She is
Rolonda.
Hi,
she
Les.
is a
Hi,
dear
Ange.
friend. We came to know each other while we were both colleagues at Cisco. In particular, we were a part of an organization called Connected Black Professionals, and that is an employee resource group at Cisco that focused on the needs of global Black employees. And
hmm You've spoken about that on our podcast. I know you've mentioned it,
yeah,
Ange.
yeah.
Yep.
So Rolanda is someone that I came to know through that organization. It was one of the biggest blessings in my life is to co-lead that organization and to be a part of um, helping the larger Cisco, the C-suite Cisco, to see us more broadly and to listen to the grievances and the joys that we had in
hmm
the company. So let me just tell you a little bit about who this person is. Rolanda grew up in Bolivia, North Carolina, and she is the eldest of three siblings. Her parents were hard workers who instilled in her the value of strong work ethic and the importance of taking care of family. She's such a great auntie. She graduated from South Brunswick High School with honors and later attended North Carolina A&T State
Aggie
University.
Pride, Aggie
Why did
Pride.
I not know that you were an Aggie? My son is having the best experience there. We'll talk about that later.
Awesome.
Where she graduated magna cum laude with a bachelor's of science in electrical engineering. She later obtained her MBA from Keller Graduate School of Management. Rolanda has over 25 years of experience working in the high-tech industry, having worked for Motorola, Scientific Atlanta, and currently Cisco Systems. She has
hmm
experience working in and leading teams in manufacturing, engineering, and technical services. I don't want to miss this. Rolanda is the author of Wisdom Brings Success, a 31-day journey to reflect and revise. I'm going to
Mm.
stop there because the rest we will put in the speaker notes. But I like to give people their flowers. I like for everyone to know them deeply and respect, put some respect on her name.
Yeah.
Love
She has earned it. And so, with that, I'm going to start with tell me your story, Rolanda. Tell us your story.
Wow, that's a loaded question, Angela. And
Oh, we're
you,
full of loaded questions.
yes, yes,
It's
and
how we roll.
you, you've read a lot of it in my bio, right? And so I grew up in a very rural area in southeastern North Carolina. It just family was all around me at all times, right? But being the eldest of three, you have that older child syndrome, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
you take on all the responsibilities and
hmm
uh, you're looked at as as being the example for everyone, and
Right.
that's how I grew up, right? And
hmm
I loved school. I really loved math and science, and my dad really instilled that in me. So it was before STEM was a thing. I was
Right,
in
Yeah.
right.
STEM. So
hmm
and because of him, I was encouraged to go to school for engineering. So
Mm,
I was always do well in school. However, when I was 17 years old and a senior in high school, I found myself pregnant. So I was
mm,
a teenage mother, and that was a
okay.
time that really could have taken me far off of my
Sure,
trajectory
sure. Mm-hmm,
in
mm-hmm.
where I wanted to go, but with God's grace and with
Yes.
my family support, I was able to go on and finish school. I graduated third in my high school class, and
Wow.
went
Wow.
on to North Carolina A&T, and really had the time of my life. If I had to do it all over again, I do it. I do it all over again, and I learned so much and met folks, and started in the work world after graduation and everything, and moved to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Just my
Oh,
son and I.
Texas. Okay.
Yeah, right outside
Mm-hmm.
of San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working for Motorola, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just my son and I, and eventually relocated to Atlanta, and that was a good move. That's where I met my husband,
Right.
and we came together as a blended family. So I have a beautiful bonus daughter,
Nice.
and it came back kind of full circle to North Carolina, and relocated back here in 2016. Just a couple of hours away from my parents at this point, which was really good. And unbeknownst to me, I did not know that my dad was very, very ill, or was starting to get ill at that time.
Right. And he was in North Carolina, so you came back.
I came back not knowing, but I knew it was something that was concerning him, and I really didn't know, and eventually found that out. So anyway, all was in God's timing, and getting back to North Carolina and being able to be a help to my family. So
Awesome. That's beautiful. So we actually met in Atlanta when you were at the Atlanta office.
Yes.
And so I was telling Leslie that we had driven down. I think it was when the Black VP was hired on. I'm forgetting his name right now. And Karen, Scott, and I drove down, and my son, who's now a junior at A&T, because that car ride, Karen told him all about all about her school. She's like a walking poster child for A&T.
Yes.
She needs to be on their marketing team.
I know, absolutely. And so it was during that ride, and so I was convinced that that's where he was going to go. And we went down, and that's where we met. But we didn't really start to get to know each other until you moved to RTP. So I remember when you started doing some healthy living, and I was wondering whether it had to do with your dad and you trying to help him, or you trying to, were you triggered by your dad's health in starting to live a healthy lifestyle?
I would say that years back, I remember my dad was the inspiration to started living healthier, because I remember back when I was a child, he was like, no, we're just going to eat chicken and fish and turkey and stuff like that. And so that was kind of maybe the seed that was planted. But, I've always been drawn to alternative health, but I have not always lived it. Let's say. So I've struggled and gone back and forth. But I would say a turning point in my life was when I was diagnosed with Graves' disease in I think it was February 2019. And so that was when I started.
Not uncommon in our communities.
Yes, it's when I started to look at other things, because the first thing my doctor wanted to do was just cut my thyroid out, which I would not allow. And so I would say that's what kind of sparked the healthier living, Angela. And then I was able to take some of that back to my dad when he was still living, and juicing and doing things for him. Yeah. In my case, it was the overactive thyroid there, Leslie. And so it was all of the things that came with the very fast metabolism, the anxiety, the drastic weight loss. All of a sudden, my symptoms kind of came on very fast, and it just was
I know it was
I know
scary.
it varies, but it was very it was extremely
gosh.
scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, thank God for good doctors.
Yeah.
Thank God for good doctors. So there's a particular reason why I was like, oh my God, I have to have Rolonda on podcast. I don't know if I want to get to it yet. But I think we're gonna. I think we're gonna go there. So, folks, I go on to Facebook, and I hadn't been on it for a while. During COVID, I didn't really have any interest in social media, and just kind of popping up every once in a while. And I went on, and I saw that Rolonda had posted probably the week before that she was taking a year-long sabbatical. And I was like, if that is not bolder, older living, I don't know what is. I need to find out what's behind this. She needs to come onto our podcast and tell the world what. I love it. So, tell us all the juiciness about how this came about and what your plans are, and all of that.
Well, I can't say it was one thing. I think it was, when I think back, at probably about 3 different things that happened over the course of a few, several months. One thing, turning 50. Hello, that is. I turned 50 during the pandemic. I'm 51 now. Coming into that decade, for me, when I think of my 40s, I feel like that was me coming into more of my authentic self and being okay with that. And when I look at 50, I'm like, wow, it's like another level of boldness and courageousness that I feel within myself. So I would
awareness.
And awareness. Yes, absolutely. Leslie.
And I'm glad you say that, because I think for some people, it may go in the other direction. They start to slow down. They start to, and that is what we want to stop it.
Yeah.
Don't
it doesn't
do that.
have to be that way.
Absolutely.
But not only does it not have to be that way, for many of us, I just turned 61. It isn't that way, but I'm getting a bad press. So the press isn't advertising that 61-year-olds are still working full time and enjoying life outside of work and enjoying family and coming into our own. Thank God you realized that earlier on.
Yes.
So you're living it. So continue. Go ahead.
Thank you. And then that leads me to the second thing that occurred. So in February 2022, my dad passed away due to stomach cancer and chronic kidney failure, chronic kidney disease.
Wow.
My dad was someone that took care of everybody, not just his immediate family. He helped a lot with his siblings. He was the older sibling as well. The community. He was an electrician, so even outside of his job, he would do things for people in the community. He would loan money to people in the community. So, and when he got ready to start really enjoying his life, he had already retired, but to him, enjoyment was buying his first new truck and stuff like that, because he would always put himself last. By the time my dad was able to start enjoying a lot of the fruits of his labor, he had already started getting ill.
Oh, wow.
And so he did not have the energy to enjoy things like that. So that stuck out to me, that life is short.
Yes.
So that's the second thing.
Yes. Remember, there are not that many shopping days till Christmas.
Yeah.
There are not that many shopping days till Christmas. Yeah.
And so I was like, whoa, I really started looking at my life and wanting to make sure that I started to experience things more and enjoy things more. And so it leads me to the last point. The third thing was, I had a mentor within Cisco that is actually, she was getting ready to start her sabbatical and leveraging the same program that I'm leveraging. And so I had someone that I could reach out to and talk to and to learn of her experience and to see if it's something that I should do. And one of the last things she left with me was, Rolonda, go with your gut. And I knew what that meant.
Yes.
It's in my gut. I'm not going to rest until I respond to do what I need to do. So those were the three things that led me down this road. And it was not an easy decision to make, as I'm a senior manager, I'm a leader of leaders. I knew that doing something like this would be disruptive to the organization. So I wrestled with it for a few months. And finally in December, late December, mid-December, I said, let me talk to my direct manager about it. And
I chose you.
I chose me.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And, it is, your father gave you that because he showed you how not to, that you can make other choices. Yes. And I know that it was through a sacrifice that you were able to make another choice. Do you know what I mean? So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
What I'm hearing also is the ability to trust your gut, because so often in so many different areas, we have this gut feeling or in our minds, but we downplay it and we quiet it, and we're afraid of what other people will say.
Right.
When we are able to do that, but step out boldly and speak to what our gut is saying, it's almost shocking sometimes that we hear the yes.
Yes.
That we hear the yes. It's like I don't think that we should shut ourselves down before other people respect our gut. Other people respect our opinions and what we know for sure. And I don't think that we should be the ones to say no to our dreams or our ideas.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. True.
Even that imposter syndrome that I was just speaking to Ange about yesterday, that it kind of showed up in my life. And here I am seeming so confident or whatever, but it showed up recently. The outside is waiting to hear from us, and our ideas to them may be great and brilliant and well supported, but if we don't present them, we'll never know.
Yeah. And
yeah,
that reminded me of another thing that I really appreciate Rolonda for is she has a gift for motivating people, right? And she probably has known that she has had this gift. But one of the things that I love about her is that she shares those gifts. And that's what we always want to encourage people. Listen, your light should not be under the table. Your light should shine. And so whenever she posts on Facebook, she posts her little inspirational moments. And every time that I see those, first of all, I always stop to listen. But they always deliver something that, it's like, okay, putting that in my toolbox. That's like a life lesson right there. And so why did you start doing those?
Oh gosh, when did I start?
And why?
I was in Atlanta during that time. I had just gone through a Toastmasters because I'm I grew up being very shy. I am introverted. Some people don't believe that, but I really am. I'm very introverted, so it takes energy to do this. So I started as a result of going through Toastmasters and wanting to. Well, I just said, let me start doing some videos because on the inside that you're supposed to do something, but your personality, for me, I felt like my personality didn't match that. I knew that I had things to say, but my personality, I'm introverted. But what I'll tell people now is do not get into, don't let your personality paralyze you when you know that there is something, a part of your purpose is to share knowledge and wisdom. And so I had to get over that fear.
Right.
And I
Right.
just started doing a video here and there. And once I saw the response to that, I
Yes.
was like, wow, well, maybe there is something I really do have to share.
That's called
So
Mhm.
that's kind of how I
courage. That's
started.
called
Yes.
courage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fear, but you do it anyway. Yeah.
Yes.
I want to capture that hashtag. What was it? Don't let your hashtag, don't
Uh,
let your
don't let your personality paralyze you.
don't let your personality
Ooh.
paralyze you.
Ooh. Okay.
Hashtag,
All
hashtag.
right. Rolonda, what is Toastmasters?
Yes. So
Oh.
Toastmasters is an organization that helps you with, I would say, in the simplest form, with your public speaking.
Mhm.
It kind of trains you in how to talk off the cuff, how to be conscious of overusing filler words like
Mm. Mm-hmm.
things like that. And so it you have to get in front of an audience and do that. So that I would say that's one of the biggest things that helped me to feel more comfortable in doing
I
public
see.
speaking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it a course
It is
that open to the public or something?
it's very reasonable cost. It
Yeah,
is something that's global.
Mhm.
I
I
see.
think it's a
Mhm.
I
global
might look into
It
it.
organization.
is. It
Yeah,
is
it's very
global.
reasonable.
Yeah.
There tends to be groups locally around you. So if you
Mm-hmm.
went probably on Google and search Toastmasters in your area,
Okay.
a group
Okay.
would come up and you can join it. And you
Got
kind
it.
of you work through a workbook in different
Yeah.
scenarios and
Yeah.
things like that.
Okay. I might see
Yeah.
some public speaking in my future.
Yes, I think so,
Who
Leslie.
knew?
Yeah. Incorporate. There's always a Toastmasters group that you can join. I was always so tempted to do it, but I never officially did it. But you kind of it becomes some of Toastmasters teachings kind of become the culture of organizations. So it's always like you get it by osmosis.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Um, so I have
Rolanda, I
another.
have a question before
Sure.
you get in, and
Yeah.
Yes.
because I'm still thinking of what you spoke about in your introductory remarks, where you grew up thinking about STEM before it was called STEM. Um, if you can just describe some of the challenges you went through as a Black and female in an area where you probably were a real minority. I too grew up thinking about science and technology and math, and there weren't many people in my family that understood the rigors that were associated with that type of discipline, because I come from a family of teachers and educators.
Mhm.
But you tell me about how you navigated an area that might have been you might have been the only one in that arena.
Well, I tell you, because I went to a historically Black college and university, I would say it didn't hit me all of a sudden yet. So I was, going
Mm-hmm.
from high school and had a very good experience. We had a mixed high school and everything, no major issues there. Went to college, was around primarily Black folks that looked like me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then I graduate, or I would have to say, actually, my first challenge was I was doing an internship over the summer with the company I will not name, but I
Mhm.
was in Illinois and in the Midwest, and it was a group of us college students there, and that was my very first time encountering racism right in my face because we
Mhm.
had all went
Mm-hmm.
out to eat as a group of young Black college students that had a great internship opportunity. And so we didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a good experience in that particular restaurant.
Mm.
But fast forward, it wasn't until I started working in corporate America till I'm looking at, oh, wow, for many, many years, I was the only, either the only woman or
Mhm.
the only Black person on a team.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
that's where you just really start to see, like, wow, it's just me.
Mhm.
And
Uh-huh.
how do I navigate through this, and how do I build effective relationships, and how do people see me? So you start questioning yourself then. So that
Mhm.
Sure.
was
Mhm.
earlier on, and for many, many years I that was what it was until um gosh, probably very recently. And
Mm.
when I knew that when I became a leader in had an opportunity to impact diversity, that I was going to be purposeful of spreading the net wide and looking for making sure that we have a diverse pool of candidates and things like that. So that became my brand as a leader, is that I was
Wow.
going to
Yeah.
do that. And the organization that I'm in, I really impacted the diversity there, and hired diverse candidates. And that is something I'm very proud about.
All right.
Wow.
I want to jump in with something that this is me being controversial again, right? So the idea of imposter syndrome, and my sister kind of brought this to my attention, put the seed of, oh, I can see that. So we talk about imposter syndrome, and in general, what it means is that you feel like you haven't earned the right to be in the room, right? You know, or it's kind of like, why am I you don't see yourself
Or at least
in,
questioning. Yeah.
right, you're questioning. There's a difference between imposter syndrome and organizations, companies, groups of people who are not inclusive. Feeling as a Black woman, and I studied mechanical engineering, right? So that was so we're all STEM people. And I was one of 5 Black people, regardless of gender, in my university, my year, 5 engineering students at at Penn, this huge Ivy League university. There were 5 of us. And so the idea that, what Rolonda just described, just to make my point really clear, of how she felt, that is more how she was made to feel because of the structure that was
And
created.
the othering.
Right, the othering. That is not imposter syndrome. She deserved to be there. She didn't feel welcome. We didn't feel welcome in our spaces because of racism, because of institutionalized racism. Let's not get that confused with imposter syndrome.
Right.
It is not the same. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there, let people come after me, or let's discuss this further.
Well, and imposter syndrome then might be a late result of years and years of living in that environment.
Well, I kind of think of them as separate, because imposter syndrome, in my understanding, is where it's an internal thing. It's something that you're struggling with, but everyone outside thinks you're great. That is imposter syndrome to me.
Right.
Institutionalized racism is everybody doesn't think you're great. You have to be the one saying, hey, look at me. Great. I'm pretty awesome. You know what I mean? So it's very different. And I want to just have us be careful as Black women to make that distinction, personally, and as our how we internally talk to ourselves. What is this? Is it imposter syndrome? Or is it, or am I feeling racism or sexism or ageism as we get older? Is that what it is? Or is it something else? And so I just wanted to just make sure that I made that point.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask you about fear. Leslie and I talk about that a lot, about fear. It shows up, right? People say to be fearless. No, it's not fearlessness. It's doing it afraid.
Not being human.
Exactly. It's doing it afraid. And so
we were given the emotion, the gift of fear.
Right. Exactly.
For a reason.
Saved my life many times. Yes. I will not be fearless when that bear is coming. I will not. So Rolonda, so there have been several things throughout your life, it seems, where fear could have crippled you, might have
Mm-hmm.
crippled you, but God, you know. So, how do you feel about fear, and is there anything that you can share with us about that?
Yeah. Even going through this whole thought process, there was fear. And
Mm,
I recognize that as being something that kind of held me back and a part of why I struggled with the timing of it.
mhm.
But what I've learned from very wise people is that, and just as Leslie said, fear is normal.
Yeah.
Fear can come,
Mhm.
but I made a decision that regardless of fear, I was still going to do it. Even me going through this, Angie, there are risks built into me doing this. One
Yeah.
risk
Yeah.
is that once my year is up, I may not find a role in
Mm,
my current company,
mhm,
and I may have to,
mhm.
move on. And
Right.
so there was the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm taking myself off of the trajectory that I had planned for
Yeah.
myself
Yeah.
to move up
Mm.
this.
Wow,
I'm
that's
gonna I'm
big.
Right.
gonna put this in quotes, up the corporate ladder. So it was a
Right.
big
Right.
fear for
Mm.
me um, to do this.
Yeah.
And but I'm a person, I journal all the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
I went
you
back.
you and my girl over there.
Every
I
morning.
journal all the time, and you never know. It's something fun to do if you journal all the time is go back a few months and see what you've written down. And I picked up my journal and I started going back through it, and I looked at a entry I did in July
Mhm.
of last year, and I wrote about this sabbatical. And
Wow.
the
Wow.
I put it here because I thought you'd be interested in
I would love to
me
hear
reading
it.
just a couple of things,
Yes, please.
Yes.
Um,
Oh,
well, you guys can edit, so I'll just read the whole thing, and but it's not
don't
that
need
long.
to edit.
So this is July 5th, 2022. For the last few months, I have been pondering taking a leave from work. I have, when I have tried not to think about it, my spirit won't let it go. The one thing that would keep me from doing it is fear.
Mm.
Fear of something
Mm.
catastrophic happening that would eat into our savings, fear of this hurting my career trajectory. But on the flip side, what if?
Mm.
What if I gain new perspective about myself? What if I find something
Oof.
I love? What if my lifestyle becomes healthier?
Oh,
I can't live my life being fearful and being so risk averse that I give myself no room to live and experiment. Sometimes the things that comfort you can also smother you.
Ooh.
mic
And
drop.
Mic drop.
Mic
that's
drop.
when I
I, I
knew,
I feel that in my toes.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
thank you.
It's
I'm
it's
so
a it's
proud
a
of you.
beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Um, I've got to ask you to talk about your book. That's like, huge. So yeah, just whatever you want to share about your book. Of course, we're going to put
Oof.
information about how people can get it, but you woke up one morning, or did you, and say, "I'm gonna write me a book today."
No, no, I wish it was like that.
I'm going to
Uh,
be a published author
Right?
with my bad self.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
with my bad self.
I when I was younger, I loved to write. So
Mm,
I would write poems. I would, just write different things down. And again, one of those things I had to I was scared to do it,
mhm.
but I met someone in Atlanta, and one thing that she did was to help people get their books out. But I Wisdom Brings Success is actually my third book.
Oh.
The first book I wrote, I would say was very personal
Mhm,
and was very was me overcoming
mm,
child molestation
mm.
when I was younger. So that book was called More Than a Conqueror, and that was out I was in Atlanta during that time. But
Mm.
anyway, fast forward, I started working with someone on this particular book, and so I also had a collection of poems I had laying
Mm.
around, and
Hmm.
Oh.
so I was like,
Just laying
oh,
around.
let me just kind of pull these together. And so I pulled them together, and that was my second book, which is called Seasons. So
Mm.
that was just a collection of poems. Wisdom Brings Success really speaks to that professional development side of me. So one of my
Okay.
passions is career development,
Mhm.
professional development,
Hmm.
coaching others through that.
Hmm.
And so I got the idea of to have a book that's kind of like a devotional, I would say,
Yeah.
but it has 31 entries. So I was a person, I used to read the book of Proverbs many years ago,
Okay.
and I would read one proverb a day. So that was the 31. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
the same concept.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so it just has the entry may start with a quote or something, and then it has some commentary. And
Hmm.
then the last part would just be a call to action or an action that you can do. And so
Right.
it's meant to cause you to reflect on each entry and take an action
Awesome.
regarding that.
I'm just thinking about your team. They're gonna cry. I know they'll get
Mhm.
over it. And you already said yes. You already left, so the you can. I'm not gonna worry about making you feel guilty because the deed is already done. But I know because I know Cisco. I know that they're like, oh my God.
Let me tell you, I'm only into my second week, but
Hmm.
yes, a few of the team, we cried together because
Oh,
there
Mhm.
are folks that I built some incredible relationships with. There were
yeah.
people that, I mean, sometimes you don't know until you getting ready to leave a thing how much
Right.
you may have
Right.
impacted it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had people
Yeah.
telling me that I was the best manager that or best leader that they had worked for.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It was just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was just I was a mess, really,
Yeah,
listening
yeah,
to
yeah.
the people
You were
share.
doing the
And
Getting
ugly
your
I
cry.
was,
flowers right
I
now.
was so humbled. I was so humbled
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
by what people were saying and just this massive support that I
Yeah.
received. And I would have to say, um, so we had like a lunch in the RTP area, and a few of the local people came, and one of the guys that works under my organization, he used to work directly for me. When everything was almost over and eating, he's usually on the quiet side, right?
Uh-huh.
And African American young man, and he came up to me later and he said, "Rolonda, I want you to know that you changed my life."
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's that
Mm-hmm.
kind of validation that
Yeah.
lets you
And
know
I'm
that
like,
you're following God's purpose.
yes. And I'm
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
if I have changed one life, if I have imparted
There's your
something,
one.
that
There's
was,
your
and
Yeah.
he
one.
was
There.
my one,
Yeah.
right? And
Everything else is gravy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything else is gravy.
yeah,
Wow.
Whew.
You know what? I
This
gotta
is not
tell
an
you.
interview that's supposed to
Uh,
make me all misty
I
and
told
stuff.
you.
Come
I
on.
told you who we
You did.
dealing
You
with
did.
over
You
here.
told
I
me.
told you.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah.
Rolanda, it's funny, but Les, I don't know if you saw this, but last night I was looking, I did a search on your name, Rolanda, because I was looking for the email that I sent you. And um, it brought up this email that you sent me when I was leaving Cisco.
Wow.
And I'm not going to read it um, because now I'm going to cry. But it started with, and this is why I love you. That's what you wrote to me because I was saying goodbye to CVP,
mhm,
and I had attached a letter that I sent to all the senior leaders who had helped me. And
Mm-hmm.
I talked about, um, how sometimes people want to run from the diversity label or the Black label. And in fact, that is what empowered me at Cisco. is wearing those
Mm-hmm.
labels and being proud of it and being helpful to my colleagues who shared some of the same experiences that I did. And so you gave that to me. And I know that I cried when I received it the first time. And it just came out. I'd never seen it since then.
Wow.
I'm not sure why the email, it was like the second one.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it
I'm glad you
started
found
with,
that.
and this is why I love you.
Oh.
So, oh my gosh, it's a beautiful
Wow.
thing.
It is.
Listen, we've got to tell people who they are to us and what they
Yes.
do.
We don't do it
Whomever-
enough.
We don't do it enough. And sometimes we think, oh, they're too up there. They're too this. They don't need that from me.
Or they don't want it. Yeah, who am I? It may not matter.
Yeah. Now that's imposter syndrome. Yeah, who am I? I don't matter. What do you know? I can't bless them. They're the ones who are blessing me. And there's so much evidence to the contrary.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So brava.
That's almost
brava,
a great way to end. We're about at the end, but
no.
Can I say this before we end?
Yeah.
And I'll say this really quick.
You can take as much time as you need. It's our show.
Okay. But when I think of people that inspire me, and Angela, I have to say that you're one of those folks as well, because you made your bold move a few years ago.
I did.
And I was watching.
I did.
And I remember us having the conversation in the cafeteria when you were saying that there were these job offers that you had that you could have stayed, but you were wrestling with going out on your own and doing something different. And I just remember that conversation. And then very soon afterwards, I knew that, that was when you had made your decision.
Right.
And that was inspiring to me, because it was like you were going on your trajectory way and then a bold move. And so I thought about you, even in this, when I was trying to make my decision of people I could pull from.
Right.
And so you were one of those folks. So thank you for being courageous and being an example.
Thank you. Well, that's my blessing right there. That's my blessing.
Oh, this is so wonderful. So, Rolonda, I'm going to just put it out there and say, we need to have you back. We need to have you back either like toward the end of your sabbatical or toward the middle or something.
Yes,
but
towards the middle.
I need a little bit more of you. And I want to know a little bit more about what's going on, what you're up to, and how you're branching out. And this doesn't look like introversion to me.
I know. Or, it looks like what an introvert is. It's like we have these kind of, their introverts are like this and extroverts are like this. And,
Right.
No, all this means is after this is over, I'll go in a corner and be quiet for 2 hours. That's all.
Or write another book or,
Yeah. Whereas, Ange and I would be on the phone like, did you get that interview? She was amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, this was wonderful. I want to just, we prayed before we started. So I just want to thank God that our prayers were answered, because this was an amazing, we got to know you better. We got to share you with our audience. We know that they're going to love you. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And, we have our website, so we can, when you send me pictures, or when I pull pictures down from Facebook, we'll put them on our website to show people what you're up to.
That would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, folks.
All right, guys.
So this was another wonderful episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Whoop, whoop. Thank you for listening. See you next time.